I'm starting a new game development project, and I wanted to do something that I've never done before, which is to track my progress with a devlog. So that's what you're watching right now. Bear with me as I figure this all out, because I'm sure there are going to be hurdles that I run into. But yeah, without further ado, this is the game. Right off the bat, I know it's a little disorienting, so let me kind of go over a little bit about what you're seeing here. What we're looking at is a grid of lights, and it's meant to look like a bunch of LEDs kind of slapped onto a circuit board. This blue node at the bottom left is a player, and you can control him with WASD. The white lights are walls, and you can't walk past them. After playing around a little bit for a while though, you might notice that this white light right here will vanish and reappear sometimes, and you can walk through it during those times. So I'm going to do that now. And observant players might also notice that there's also this blue guy up here, and he's the same shade of blue as the player, but he's not under your control. He's kind of doing his own thing. And as soon as he collides, let me see if I can get it to happen. As soon as he collides with this orange node, this gate goes away. So it's kind of a clue that, hey, this is probably a button, and this is probably a gate that we can pass through because of that button being pressed. After walking through here, this gives you access to a purple node at the bottom right corner. And by walking into that, the player is transferred over to the same position on this left grid. He can move around freely here until he comes across a second purple node, and that takes him back to the same position on the right grid. From here, he can access the green node, which I'm hoping that players are going to assume is the goal, and it's also closer, so I think most players will make a beeline for that. But when they connect with it, nothing happens. The puzzle isn't solved yet. You can pause here and try to work out why that is if you want, but spoiler warning, it's not going to be that satisfying. The solution comes in understanding that what we're seeing happen here is time travel. The first purple node takes you back in time to a time when this path was open and you could walk through it. And the second one returns you back to the present. Knowing that, a player might realize that this blue character at the top is actually a future version of himself, and that in order to complete the puzzle, he'll have to finish the loop by hitting the orange button and opening the gate for his past self. So that's it. That's what I have so far, and I'll go ahead and try to complete the puzzle so I can show you what that looks like. So here's the very last version of me following the path that I took on the left, and he's about to press the button. This is not me controlling it. This is all pre-recorded moves, and I've solved it. It's considered solved because the past version of myself, the present version of myself, and the future version of myself have all gotten to the green node and solved the puzzle. And by doing that, I've created a loop where the game will play itself out over and over, and each version of myself will reach the node even though I'm not giving it any kind of input. So that's it. That's what I have so far. This was designed as a one-off puzzle as part of a larger game, and there wasn't really meant to be much more to it, which is good because there are a lot of problems with this puzzle. It's kind of interesting, but this array of lights is very disorienting, and the mechanic doesn't really give the player a lot of agency. Once you solve this once, the solution going forward, like if I made another puzzle using these mechanics, the solution would just involve do what the guy ahead of me did, which isn't very fun. Besides that, the left grid doesn't really do much, especially in this puzzle. When you're in the past, you can kind of just do whatever you want for as long as you want, and then eventually hit this purple node to return to the future and continue on with the puzzle. So I've been doing some thinking on this, and I think I can solve a lot of these problems with 3 changes. First, I scrap the second map. I lose this entirely, and when you go to the past, you're actually just going to a different time on this map. Second, I replace these kind of LEDs with a more traditional animated character walking through a scene. And finally, I give the player a kind of fog of war. The idea is that the player can only see a few of his surrounding cells and not the whole map anymore. By doing that, he still might run into his future self and be able to see him, but he won't know his every move. By the time things come around so that you're controlling the future self, you won't have a strict path you have to follow, just kind of a list of beats that you know you need to hit. You know, he saw me in the bottom left corner, so I need to make sure to be down there at the right time. Or I really need to cross in front of him right now, but I can't because when I was controlling him, I didn't see my future self cross in front of me. So it's kind of confusing to talk about, but I'm hoping people will get it more as they play through it. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm calling this a finished prototype, and I'm going to start on a new project which starts to implement these new ideas, and hopefully I'll be back soon with an update.